Welcome, welcome, everybody. Let me bring one more special person onto the stage here. And I can't get things kicked off without Audrey being in the room. So let me bring her up. We got a fun conversation, and I say fun because if y'all know about some of the people here on stage, there's no way to not have a good time when you're talking to them. So really, really excited to come to you guys talking about the original crypto, I guess you can say. The how gold kind of kicked things off and set this asset world on fire from a very long time ago, and how we're bringing it into this blockchain world that we kind of live in, day out. And believe me, more people are involved in it than most people realize nowadays. Even for organizations and corporations in the back end, blockchain is everywhere. So kind of figuring out where does gold land in all of this. And to do that, we got some incredible speakers here to kind of share their insights and their knowledge about what's going on in this space. I'm going to go ahead and let these wonderful individuals kind of introduce themselves, let you guys know what they're all about, what they're looking into, and basically what they've been working on lately. So we'll kick it off with you, Silvia, since you're the first one here on the list. Please go for it. Let everybody know who you are, where you're working, kind of the things you're dealing with right now.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having us here. I'm Silvia. I'm currently contributing as a board member at Origyn. Origyn is a protocol for the certification of real-world assets. We focus on different asset classes from gold, diamonds, made in, and luxury good. And lately, of course, we are dealing with new use case, onboarding new use case, and helping partners get on board with this new technology that we're gonna talk about more today. So thank you very much.
Beautiful. Joseph, how about yourself, sir?
Okay. Just to clarify my name, my full name, and I have to use my full name because this is how I had to identify myself on LinkedIn by my passport, is Gregory Joseph Caturay, but I go by Joey. so I'm the CEO of Gatsby Games FZCO, and Gatsby Games FZCO is a Dubai-based company that is publishing a platform for content creators, studios to publish and sell games and digital assets, all backed by a gold stablecoin, stablecoins and gold stablecoins.
Awesome. Audrey, you're the next one here on my list.
Hey, I am in mining and in the tokenization of real world assets, and my worlds are colliding. Finally, everything, regulation, tech, everything's catching up. I am into the tokenization of gold and other precious metals.
Beautiful. And what about yourself, Mark? You're the guy that doesn't like gold, right?
No, I am very bullish on gold, but I am working on tokenized silver. So I'm the founder of Dominion. We're tokenizing silver, fully backed by physical silver. But no, I'm bullish gold.
Love to hear it. Last but not least, we have Lisa with us as well.
Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I had some problems getting in.
No worries at all. Let everybody know who you are and kind of what it is that you do in this space.
Okay, my name is Lisa Loud, and I've been in crypto for the past, I don't want to say how many years, but more than 5. And I come from the background of PayPal and Apple. I used to be a developer, and then I was in marketing. Now I'm at Ubuntu Tribe, and we've launched a gold-backed token that's fully backed by actual physical gold. People can redeem their gold, which is our claim to fame is you can actually get your gold delivered to your door if you want to trade in your tokens. But we're building financial inclusion across the world, compliant. We're very focused on compliance regulation and making an asset that retains its value available to everyone in the world.
Awesome. All right. So we got this whole thing about gold, precious metals, luxury items. It seems like we are in a world that's ready to basically explode with luxury. And yet a lot of people are going, is it really there? Is it trackable? Does it actually exist? And we come in with this crazy idea that blockchain does make a difference, that it can actually have an impact. I would love to just kind of kick us off and have a basic understanding. where do these worlds actually meet? How do we actually ensure that there is what they say there is? Like Lisa, you just gave a perfect example, like actually being able to cash out that gold. That's a big deal. It means that it's real, it's available, it's actually there. A lot of people don't allow some of those things to actually take place. So where is the intersection? Where does it actually make sense? And I say this because we got a lot of things being tokenized. I mean, I believe it's $10 trillion we're looking at as far as tokenization coming in. Where do we kick the ball off? Like, where do we actually start this whole thing? And Audrey, would you mind kicking us off with this one?
I'm not really sure what you're asking. That was a long worded.
Beautiful.
Intro.
It's called salad. You're looking for salad. Word salad is what we're looking for. No, but like right now, you have information out there going how households in India have more gold than the U.S. Treasury, but none of it is really verifiable. Where does the verification within blockchain actually make sense? Because I've said this time and time again, tokenization is great when it makes sense. So does it make sense for gold, and what's the purpose behind it?
Well, it makes sense for gold when it's verifiable, and Ubuntu and also Gatsby have that covered. So Lisa, if you want to go into how Ubuntu, what they are doing to make sure it's verifiable, because I think it's one of the best use cases to date.
Yeah, and also to go a little deeper, why gold? I think we've all seen that the world situation is unpredictable. Let's call it unpredictable. And so we don't actually know what different dollar currencies, fiat currencies are going to do. What has been consistent over the past centuries is that gold has always retained its value. So many currencies in the world don't retain their value very well. So why tokenize gold? It's because it's hard. It's hard to own gold, right? Like, where do you find it? Where do you store it? If you have a lot of it, how do you carry it around? It's really heavy. So tokenizing gold means that you can carry it around with no weight, right? You have access to it anywhere you want. So that's the reason. That's the why. The why is that you have a very strong store of value. You know it's going to be worth at least what it was worth yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and the next day. And then you also remove the problem of logistics and moving that gold around from place to place, selling that gold, buying more of it, using it to pay for things. If it's tokenized, it becomes much more liquid and much more available. And that's why Audrey asked me, like, how are we doing verifiability? And I think verifiability is hugely important. I will say some of these bigger gold tokens that are out there, they have a good name and they've got a lot of brand recognition, but they don't necessarily have they don't have gold backing every single token. They have things backing every single token. That could be ETFs, that could be a basket of other things, but it's not a straight one-to-one verifiable RWA. And so at Ubuntu Tribe, we do third-party audits, or attestations it's called, to make sure that the gold is in the vault for every token that is issued. In the future, I think what we'd like to see is that every ounce of gold or every milligram of gold is tracked to the right person, but it's hard to do. Gold is a little bit fungible, right? As long as it's pure gold, it's the same, whether it's this gold that I touched or another gold that I didn't touch. But the reality is that regardless, as long as it's attested that that amount of gold is in the vault or the number of tokens, it is redeemable. And you have to do third-party audits to get that.
Yeah.
So no trust me, bros. It's actually got to be verified.
No, not even trust me, sis. Like, it's not happening.
So I'll just kind of weigh in that. I think action, if you don't mind me calling it action, that the challenge you're talking about is even beyond blockchain. I think it's about, I'm going to guess here, a 7,000-year-old problem. Probably harking back to the ancient Egyptians. But how do you verify your stores? And I think. Fortunately for me, I got a very use case. So my use case worked itself out very easily. Is that my source of gold that we're using back a stable actually comes from our investor who owns a refinery and has his own gold. That's but part of the sort of refinery and repository, but part of the function of a true repository. It's audited, I believe, on a biweekly or a monthly basis. So two dynamics sort of help that out. One is that the big four are eager to take the fees to go do the auditing. That's one. But the other is that in jurisdictions and regions like the Middle East, and I think perhaps India, and I think Lisa's probably experienced this as well, I think we all have, is that investors in gold, I'm talking specifically about Middle Eastern and perhaps Indian and Asiatic investors as well, is that they actually like to see their gold. Like they like to see their, gold either at, people will just go to the repository just to see their gold. It's, it has a hallucinogenic type of effect on people. So, there's just the satisfaction of, pride of ownership, let's call it that, of just kind of seeing your gold. But it does hark back to something that Lisa just said a couple of minutes ago, and that's at the end of the day, we have to rely on auditing and accounting processes that are at least currently somewhat manual.
Yeah, that's so annoying. I wish we could get beyond that. That's what I think is holding back the gold industry the most, is that if you have to melt everything down to see what's in it, and you have to have these very reputable gold repositories, and we use them as well, it's just, it's limiting. I want valid gold, but I don't really want the centralization of the repositories. I'm worried about that.
So is it a luxurious thing to do, or do you see it as being detrimental? I guess you can say, because obviously, like different strokes for different folks, I guess, right, Joseph? You're Joey. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
We're gonna go with Joey, because you're saying
Joey.
Some people love it, and some people are all about, I don't want to carry it around, I don't want to see it, I don't want to touch it, I just want to benefit from it. Where do we draw the line? What's the importance of actually having access to the physical asset?
So I think, I don't know if I have the right answer to your question, but I think it's a cultural thing. I think over years, as I said, the hallucinogenic or that pride of ownership of just, looking at a pile of gold. I mean, it's been in children's books for, since, at least since I was a kid, which was not so long ago. But I think it's a cultural, like a cultural thing. And I think, history is rife with great stories of intrigue and espionage about gold. And, during World War II, you have the Yamashita's gold related to the Japanese and World War II as well. But there's a lot of culture in the way that I believe that we've approached gold. And are we ready for a new culture? I think on one of the discussions we had about this a bit ago, I think we did say that it's going to take a generation or two for things to switch. I mean, I think where are we at now? I've heard Gen Sigma, I've heard Gen Alpha. I'm not sure we are with the generations, but
we've run out of letters.
Yeah, I know. We're running out of letters and alphabets. I'll have to move to Roman numerals. But for the I mean, I believe the culture really has to change. But I think honestly, this is you asked, but why blockchain? Why gold? I think the connection of the two. And by the way, I'm glad you did use the term blockchain as opposed to crypto in general, because the blockchain technology, I think, really lends itself well. And I think culturally, over time, I'm going to say 1 generation, 2 generations from now, whatever letter or number they're going to give that generation, they will be used to and they will be cultured in, perhaps more transactional use of these types of tokens. I think Mark can weigh in on that a bit because he's probably maybe half a generation ahead of us already. But I think culturally, when as kids who are born now kind of grow into this will be their reality as opposed to staring at a pile of gold.
Mark, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I think so. I think like you said at the start, is it luxury? I think it's about to be essential. Gold, silver, anything that's a hard asset, Bitcoin, store of value. I think we're very fortunate, everybody on this call. We probably grew up, I can't speak for everybody's personal circumstances, but most of us grew up in maybe inflationary, but definitely not hyperinflationary environments. You look at Latin America, parts of Africa, Southeast Asia, they all understand fiat debasement better than any of us on this call. The Western civilization is about to learn, and I think hard assets are going to become essential. Now, what we're solving and what tokenization solves is how you get access to those. And I think the new generations don't want to worry about audits, vaults, and things, but they do need to trust. But you asked earlier about, where do you draw the line? That to me is a personal choice. There are tokenized silver products on the market right now, which there's not a chance I would put $1 into. However, some people do, and they're at a market cap of whatever they're at. It all comes down to your confidence level. And we see that in crypto, we see that in DeFi, we see that in the world. Do you spend £20 on sports betting, or do you spend £2,000 on sports betting? Everybody's tolerance for risk is completely different. And I think that's going to translate into the tokenization world. Some will do well, some will not. Some will attract institutional capital, some will not. It really depends. But what I think's certain is the growing demand for hard asset access is only going to accelerate over the next 10 years.
So we're talking about this access. Go ahead, Audrey.
Oh, no, I was just going to touch on what you said in regards to it being redeemable, right? And doesn't that all go back? To me, that's trust, right? The fact that I can redeem it. Because isn't that what got us away from the gold standard? Was France wanting all of it from the US? Isn't that what happened? Is France said, we want all our gold? And the United States was like, we don't know if we have it. Right? So isn't that the whole thing? And they say if we were to actually audit Fort Knox, would what they say is in there, would that be in there?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think any of us want to answer that question, but yeah.
Well, I think Audrey's right in kind of the historical context. That's exactly it. As France asked for their gold back, we could go through history. It happens every couple of years. America or the West, the UK prior to that basically stole everybody's gold. You look at what happened after Iraq fell. The US just kept all their gold. I think they've stole all Afghanistan's gold. I think they've taken Russia's reserves. So I think as we move into a more polarized world and we move away from globalization, ownership's going to be key. Redemption, like Audrey spoke about, is essential. But like you said, like a lot of younger generations are never even going to try and redeem it. But the ability to do it if you want still needs to be there in the background. Even if you have no intention of ever doing it, the fact that one day, if you just so happen to decide to, it's an option, I think is essential for tokenization to work. How that works in different assets, I don't really understand. Tokenized uranium, I don't know if I'd take delivery of tokenized uranium. So
show up with oven mitts on, right?
Yeah, so it's different for every person, like I said.
Man, I actually work with a uranium company, and they do allow you to pick it up, except it's got to go to somebody else's verified vaults that can actually handle it. So, like, to me, RWAs that are real, I kind of have that to it, right? Like, you have to have that access, which kind of brings me to the question for you, Lisa, real quick, in regards to this access as a whole, because we've seen a lot of people not have access to assets that are now available on blockchain, on the LT, simply because now they can actually buy something with a click of a button as opposed to having to go to these markets. What does the financial access look like for you when it comes to gold in the markets that you're currently building in?
You mean how does I don't understand what you mean
acquisition.
by financial.
So acquisition of the asset essentially through your platform.
Oh, okay. Well, it's very easy to buy a token. You just go to the our gift wallet, and you can buy it with any type of asset. You have to go through KYC. Because we're fully regulated and MiCA compliant, you can't just buy these tokens and on a DEX, and there are places you can buy it on a DEX, but normally if you buy these tokens, you have to be KYC'd. and that's how we maintain compliance. But once you connect your wallet, you can use MetaMask, you can use our internal wallet, and you can connect it using a bank account or using the stable coins. You just buy the tokens. So the acquisition of it is quite easy. We remove a lot of that friction. And actually, we're going after a population that we're going after populations in the world that have less education. So we're going very, very simple. And the UX, the user experience, is not complicated at all. We're removing friction every day. We're figuring out, okay, where does someone get stuck and how can we make that easier?
Now, with this trust piece, right? Go ahead, Audrey.
Just going to touch on it. Mark kind of hinted at, or Mark talked on it, and that is Ubuntu is focused on, in regards to community building, those communities where hyperinflation has hit, right? So that is a very important aspect of Ubuntu and how they are trying to solve, those problems for those that we. So I guess Mark's predicting we're going to get hit with hyperinflation in the West, but Ubuntu is targeting specifically to launch to those communities that already feel hyperinflation.
Now, somebody I definitely want to hear from that I don't think I heard her voice enough or at all is Silvia. Silvia, talk to me here in regards to what's going on as far as this trust piece, right? Because we've had this this trust that gold is something that has hard value to it. But at the same time, how can somebody trust that something that's on the blockchain matches what's in the vault? Is that of concern? Is that something that people should actually be looking at?
Yeah, I agree also with what Joe said before. Also, Audrey, of course, on the importance of the audit, right? I can give some example of what we did, for example, with Origyn. A couple of years ago, we have been selected as a trusted partner, as a technology partner from a project that was called GoldDAO for tokenizing gold. And there it's quite interesting because there was I would say, an ecosystem of expertise in gold, right? I'm not sure if you go in any kind of conference, both on traditional finance, on crypto or blockchain, you always see a corner or two of companies that are tokenizing gold. But I think what makes really the difference are the partners that are doing. So in that case, for example, there was Metalor that was providing the gold. Metalor is the second world gold refiner. So they know what they are doing, right? And the quality of the gold itself, of course, it's great, and they have also all the expertise of handling that source. The second, of course, was a tokenization partner, so that have all the license base in Switzerland. And as Origyn, we were the technology providing all the tools to basically transfer and to create the digital twin on chain. The big difference, I think, that is really bringing trust is when you can link kind of the physical with the digital, right? In the sense that you can get as many as information as possible within the certificate, so within the tokenization of that single gold bar. So if you have all the information at hand instantly, right, when you see a kind of interoperable link, you can get all the information of your own gold bar with all the references, that is the same, that is in the vault, that is audited 4 times a year by a big four, KPMG in this case. Then you have a mix of partners that are really giving trust to the use case, right? So I think that is a base, and the other part, of course, for us, and what we see that everybody that uses the Origyn protocol really appreciate is the fact that you can basically have any type of data, even documents, videos, images fully on chain. And this is really helping, because if you can almost see it digitally, right, then you can almost recognize it physically. And plus, of course, you have all the other data and audit and expertise, as mentioned before. So I think this is what is bringing trust in this context, in this moment where we are kind of at the beginning, right, of the tokenization. Because if we see the tokenization is really, of course, having on gold, on financial instrument, and equity stocks, anything. But that is just a part of the world, right? There is also a lot of other items, goods that have a value, right, but are what we call not bankable, right? But it's difficult to have a kind of instant price on Bloomberg, right? So there is kind of we believe that all that part of what we can be collectibles, luxury good, and everything is also something that will also give more trust, and people will get more used to it.
So I guess to boil it down, let me ask you a very simple question. This trust piece, is it solved or are we still early for it?
I think we are in the middle, in the sense we are solved from a technology and infrastructure perspective. If we just think where we were within the blockchain infrastructure space 10 years ago, we were in a completely different universe. So I think there was a lot of regulation put in place, also helping these. A lot of the technology also going more and more into the details and really replying to a need, right? That in the end, the people, as you mentioned, when they need the asset to certain commodities, good investment they have. So I think there we are kind of good, right? I don't want to say mature because it would be too much. There is still room for improvement, right? But on the other side, I think we are very early in adoption, right? What I think is really missing, let's be honest, is the fact that we are too scattered. There are still too many blockchains. There are still too many things that you need to figure out before really getting there, right? The experience needs to be seamless, right? It needs to be flawless. And for reaching not only the super young generation, like Joe was mentioning before, but to be across generation, to have really I think blockchain would be just a layer. We will not even we will not need anymore almost this talk about tokenization and blockchain. We will be just the new financial, what we can call financial environment, and all the infrastructure will just be in the background. And I really do hope so, right? Because that would be that would mean that we did all a good job in making sure that everything is easy, accessible, and everybody trusts the technology we are working on.
No, I love that. And I know in blockchain tech, like we sort of mix it up, like Joe was talking about, between crypto and blockchain. When we're talking about crypto, we're talking about assets that people are actually looking to make, your 1,000 X's on a lot of times. And it's like, you guys are just destroying markets here. What are you doing? But there is something to be said about, looking at assets that are undervalued. And this actually, I want to go to you, Mark, for this one, in regards to what's going on with silver. Like, is this one of those, underpriced tokenization opportunities? Like, why did you choose to go the silver route? Why does it make sense? Is it because of the demand? Is it because of people are not paying attention to it enough quite yet? Like, what brought you to actually go into the tokenized silver market?
To be fair, all of those factors is probably a big one. I think silver is massively underrepresented in the tokenization space. I think physical silver has a few challenges, price being the biggest one globally. So it trades at a different price depending on where you are in the world. And then supply is a real issue for silver as well. It's not as easy to just turn on a silver mine. It's a byproduct mostly. And then it has massive institutional demand. So silver, especially as we move into an AI, EV, solar panel dominated world, solar has a massive use case. So you add all those together, I think it makes a perfect storm for tokenized silver. But yeah, I think, like I said at the start, like I'm not bearish on gold and bullish on silver. Like they both work together, in my opinion. I think we are in a metals, energy, commodity bull run that will go for the next 5, maybe 10 years. So it's not one or the other. It's just, yeah, I think there's so many tokenized gold products, and there is some big names already in the space doing things slightly differently. But yeah, I think we're really happy we went down the silver route. We've got plans to expand into other metals long term, and I think all metals are going to do really well over the next 5 years.
No, that's wonderful to hear, but it kind of makes me think, is there a difference when it comes to metals? Is there something that sets one or the other apart? Like, for example, does silver attract a different kind of investor than gold would? And if so, how do you prepare? How do you set up the infrastructure to support those guys, different people or different investor types?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, silver is massively undervalued when you compare it to gold. Anyway, if you look at the gold versus silver value, so it's sitting at 63 right now. I think normally it trades in a range, but the lowest it's been over the last, I don't know, like 10 years or something like that, is down about 32. So it's massively undervalued versus gold, in my opinion. I think it does attract more probably like trader type people. So I think Web3 people are intrinsically attracted to things that has a bit more volatility than gold. And then, it's just something different. I think gold's still seen by younger people as like the boomer coin. So maybe it attracts some younger people. But really, I think you look at what's happened in the metal space, even in the tokenized metal space over the last 6-12 months, copper's at all-time highs, platinum's running, palladium's running. So I think they make up a balanced portfolio. And I think what would be nice is if we got to a point where, you could put together a portfolio in a phantom wallet, for example, that has some Bitcoin, some Solana, some gold, some copper, some platinum, maybe some diamonds. And then, you've got like a balanced portfolio that's ready for what I think is going to be a very inflationary period. And you've got diversification. I don't think these people that are pure Bitcoin maxis, I worry that if you're 100% Bitcoin, you're going to have periods where you're down 40-50%. I don't see that disappearing over the next couple of years. Gold, I don't believe, is going to have that volatility. Silver might. So you need to have some balance and diversification.
Yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense. And I know that Lisa didn't want to say this, but I started mining Bitcoin back in 2012. So I've seen these 50% slashes way more often than I like to admit. So I definitely feel the pain there. But talking about feeling pain, blockchain gaming is dead, apparently. So Joey, let me go over to you on that one.
Oh, that's for us. Actually, that is that's a market opportunity for us. So, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. So we launched portions of our product in Singapore at token 2049. Yeah, token 2049. I was going to say 39, but token 2049. And though we weren't really, pushing hard on the Rails aspect, we threw a brilliant party, and we had studio after studio come to us and say, "Hey, listen, those Rails are." We thought everybody would be really hyped about our cool technology and gamescape that was actually based on Dubai. So the actual gameplay and cityscape was based on Dubai. But developer after developer, studio after studio came to us and said, "Hey, listen, can we throw our stuff on your Rails?" I said, and by the way, it was part of our plan. It was probably our third milestone, but we have since moved milestone number 3 to milestone number 1. And we're afterwards, talking with some of these guys over a few beers, a few women as well, but mostly guys, game studios. So, we asked them why, and they said, well, they've gone through they've issued they've done their TGE, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And in that world, you get one kick at the can. And if you get some fuel, you have some gunpowder, but you have to make your gunpowder last until you're revenue positive. Most companies that we talk to never really had a business plan. It's sort of like, if you build it, they will come. And now that their TGs are flattened out, their FDVs are, scant, if anything. They've got great technology, great games, but they can't make money off them, at least with the model that they originally pursued. So it was interesting. They came to us, and they look at it as an on-ramp onto actually, a revenue generation opportunity. So this is when we actually, went, full on with the Rails aspect. Like, we changed our development priority to the actual Rails, and the more we've done it, the more studios actually come to us. And again, we're not even out there really sort of advertising it. In fact, for regulatory purposes, we can't get out there and advertise it. But just through through our own ecosystem of studios and developers that we know, that it just sort of propagates on its own, which is quite interesting. So you're right. The Web3 gaming industry is dead. Our platform actually was not intended for Web3. It was actually intended to Web2 to sort of slowly bring them onto Rails without them knowing they're actually on Rails. And I think Lisa was talking about UX earlier on, and similar to Ubuntu, we're making investments in UI to make it very simple for users to come on, and Web2 or Web3, any type of game to come on. And the idea is that you open an account like you'd open an account on Steam, or you'd open an account on Epic, and you have a wallet. You don't know you have a wallet. It's just your account, your dashboard for your account as you collect assets, as you perhaps buy stables and use your stables to go buy assets and so on. And again, you can trade as a user, as a player. You can then trade those assets if you feel like it. But again, it's not using speculative tokens. It's using stable, and so we call it stabilizing the economy, which is essentially it. So I'm glad you asked the question, but we look at that as an opportunity, because there are great games that are out there on Web3 that, unless they have some mechanism to actually start generating revenue for themselves, they won't be around in a year or so.
I mean, it's not like I'm playing Ninja Chess right now while I'm talking to you or anything like that,
No.
But what's the step here? Because obviously, like, getting people involved in these markets is kind of exciting. At least it is for me. And it's almost like a psyop that you're leveraging gaming to get them interested in this asset. Where does the transition actually take place, where they go from casual player to interested investor?
So, the focus of our project is not investment. Like, it's really gamers and game studios. So that's our focus. We want game studios to make money. We want players to have a fair economy where, unlike, I think, we may have talked about this before, but if you know any kids who play Roblox, or if you have kids who play Roblox, if they go buy Robux, it's not considered an investment. That's not capital sitting around. That's considered an expense. If you buy $100 worth of Robux, other than your credit card company for a chargeback, you're never seeing that money again. So this is really taking models that exist. So honestly, we did have a ton of faith, or we think the opportunity presented by Web3 is fantastic for all gamers, not just Web3 gamers. The unfortunate thing, and it's funny, I was on another call just before this one, and that kind of came up, is that the sort of Bored Apes and the NFTs and these currencies that have collapsed by like 99%, they've really left a bad taste in the gaming consumer. So much so, in fact, that there are sort of a very small contingent of, let's call them Web3 gamers, and the other gamers in the world, and the two generally don't cross paths. But honestly, we want to speak to both of them. We want to speak to the group that has, and we don't want them to go out and build their own L1 or L2. We just want them to get on our Rails. Don't worry about it. You sign on, you hook in an API, and Bob's your uncle. You're off and running. And we want to make it that easy for, I'm just calling game studios, Web3 or non-Web3, and players, non-Web3 and non-Web3. So just to reiterate, the purpose is not investment. It's really just, to have a stable economy. That's what the purpose of the stable coins. Why gold? Gold has always been associated. It's been a meme that has been associated with games since the inception of video games. But further to that, we have been asked by our associates and colleagues in Dubai to actually use emeralds and diamonds as well. So over time you'll see those sneak in as assets that or currencies that you can actually use to buy items, or to either purchase games or purchase in-game items.
Interesting. So how do we bring this all together? Obviously, tokenization is the reason why we're all here. Tokenization is what kind of links everybody's, kind of little niche in the space. But at the same time, are we at the point where it's ripe for the taking, or are we kind of here early? And that's always the question, right? Because I've seen so many great products. I've seen so many things come out and go, this is amazing, but nobody's ready for it. Where do we stand as far as tokenization is concerned? And I'll open this up to any of you guys. Are we at the point where we just got to go in head first in this thing, or are we just kind of getting the pioneers out here for the time being? And is it the right time to kind of join in the space?
Yeah, I just want to say that tokenization for its own sake, it's never gonna happen. But what we're talking about is use cases for tokenization, and that's where my head is at. That's where Ubuntu Tribe is at. We're trying to solve another problem with tokenization. We're trying to solve the problem of lack of ability to save, lack of financial education, and we're using a real world asset as like the foundational element to build that whole new financial system. We're not asking people to get on board with tokenization. We're trying to help people solve a problem they already have.
Actually, I think
very open. Go for it, Audrey.
If Mark's warning about the West going into hyperinflation, can Ubuntu hurry up and get approval for Canada so I can start, preparing?
We're working on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to your original question, like I think that is a valid point that Audrey just brought up. I think we've had a few calls with regulators, majority in Canada. I think they're starting to wake up to the size of the move that's happening. And when you see, the thing is, let's not pretend we're naive. When BlackRock and people like this turn their attention to tokenization, regulators pretty much are going to bend over and change the rules to allow them to tokenize whatever they want. That's good for us. I think all of us on this call are early to the tokenization space, but we're doing it correct. I think long-term regulation is going to become a key component. I think if you're not regulated, at least in a jurisdiction, you're going to struggle globally because, family offices controlling billions of dollars don't invest in unregulated products.
That's right.
Like it's just not a thing. Crypto's $2.5 trillion market cap. Great, amazing. Love crypto. It's where I've spent a lot of my time. But there's $900 trillion worth of assets in the planet. So like, how do you bridge some of that gap? Gold's a $35-40 trillion asset. How do you bridge that gap? The only way to do is regulation, TradFi, bringing people in. How does someone allocate some of their pension to tokenize gold? Well, they don't do it through unregulated, decentralized exchanges. They do it through regulated and compliant products. And I think that's the next hurdle we need to get over. But I think there's a lot of groundwork being done.
I can maybe add a couple of comments to also from another angle, right? From what just Lisa said before regarding the use cases, right? Because of course here we are focusing on gold, commodities, more financials aspect. But as I meant before, beside a non-bankable tokenization, if we think about the benefit, of course, is access, right? Increased access, like we said. Today, the fact of having availability 24/7, but in the end, it's also really more trust via informations, right? So it's really getting access to a lot of information of an asset, of a product that you didn't have before. And this is not only in the financial environment that this is happening, right? I think if we think completely broadly, this is linked to traceability, right? If you think the concept of traceability is something that everybody is talking about since ages, right? And I think the tokenization and all the solution and the blockchain infrastructure is really helping on that side. And also, if we think the normal commerce, like the digital product passport regulation that the European Union is putting in place right now, is completely different sectors, right? But still, blockchain could be the perfect infrastructure layer to really go hand in hand and answer to the need of transparency, right? So I think the applications are really broad and and of course, like Mark said, we are just about some trillions, some billions, but of course we are talking about a huge market. But there is even more that we can even conquer with more tokenization certification of products.
Don't stop there. What markets are you thinking about?
But look, I think this is what, just to wrap up, what we are going to focus more on Origyn, beside what the other different asset class that we said before, beside gold, diamonds, made in products. We are going to start really dig deeper more in digital product passport, right? So really, I would say normal companies. So there is going to be garments, there is going to be textile, there is going to be batteries companies. So this is going to be interesting, I think, for us to dig deeper even more. We are a protocol, so the technology could be applied to anything, to any asset. So that is what we are going to work on in the coming month.
Awesome.
And we see opportunity, of course.
That's great to hear. So that means it's an opportunity not just for these precious metals, but really anything to be tokenized. So here is a fun little question. Is there anything that should not be tokenized? Because it's so easy for people to go around going, hey, let's tokenize everything. Is there something that doesn't actually make sense?
Guns. Tokenize a gun. Not very useful.
But could be, unfortunately,
I would say fresh water. We've got a lot of it around here. We kind of don't want people to take it. No,
but there is a value on it, I think. In some years, maybe there will be some value, someone tokenizing and getting the value. You know?
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised about the demand for certain things. Like there's a group in Malaysia that's trying to tokenize forests, and there's huge demand for it. But to me, on the face of it, I'm like, why? Like, who's buying that? But I think when you look into the investment thesis behind it and its land, and I think drawing the line at what can be tokenized and what will be tokenized is quite hard, because people are going to try and tokenize everything. I don't think it's necessarily about what shouldn't be tokenized. I think it's more about how things get tokenized. I think we're seeing that with real estate. I think real estate's such a tricky one. Everyone thinks it's easy. Everyone tries to do it. I don't know if I've seen a good real estate tokenization product that actually I would trust. So I think it's not necessarily about what should and what shouldn't. It's more about how they tokenize assets, and what the appetite for it at the end is.
Yeah, I've seen good tokenization of real estate, but real estate yield, right? So people are not necessarily tokenizing the asset; they're tokenizing what you get from the asset. So let's say it's a hotel. You're getting the tokenization of that yield. You're getting the returns from the property, but not the property itself. Because, like you said, Mark, it's a little more complicated than people make it out to be when you're dealing with just the property itself. Who owns it? Who holds the title for it? Who's actually funding it? There's a lot that goes into it that people don't realize. So understanding what is actually being tokenized makes this goes back to my good old eBay days, right? So I was doing eBay when I was 17 years old. I was actually going around the country here in the US teaching at the US Postal Office, like all around the country. And that's something that we always talk about, is like, sell something that you actually understand. Get involved in something that you know. And I think that goes hand in hand with blockchain technology. Why are you going to go out of your way to do something completely brand new? Leverage the things you're already used to, the things you know already, and add the technology to it so that you can be successful. Because you're going to try to get into a whole new business. Well, two new business. You're going into blockchain and something else. Instead, focus on what you already understand. Same idea goes for trading. People talk about trade the things that you actually know, trade the things you actually understand. All of these things, I think, go hand in hand. It's like, understand the market, and therefore you may be successful, as opposed to, let me go in head first in something I have no idea what's happening, how it works, and what's going on. But with that, I see that we're getting close to the top of the hour. I would love to go around the room and kind of get you guys' let's call it a hot take as far as where we're headed, what's going on with all the tensions in the world right now, or easing tensions in the world. I don't even know where we are at this point in time. Are these tokenization markets actually going to be viable long term? Do they make an impact? As far as the global trade markets are concerned, are like right now, in a year, 5 years, where will that this environment actually move the needle? I guess is the best way that I can put it. And Silvia, why don't we start off with you?
Yeah, sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure.
Sorry.
So right now, right now we have tokenization, but markets are not as mature as we probably want them to be. How long until we actually see tokenized markets move the needle and make an impact in global markets?
Well, I think now the big question is to institution, right? We know that most of the big institutions are now adopting the technology, right? There are already some of the biggest one really putting effort and big project, and this will be, I think, what will help us getting there. If we need to measure in timing, I would say not before 2 to 3 years to have a really big impact. Overall, for full adoption, I hope not longer than 8. I would say 8 to 10.
Very, very cool. Mark, how about yourself?
Yeah, I think by 2030, RWA or tokenization will be like multi-trillion-dollar markets. I think the speed of change is going to surprise everybody. In my opinion, I think RWAs will be over 100 billion this year, and I think it'll just skyrocket from there. I think gold will be closer to $10,000 by within 12 months, and I think, I think we're going through a real volatile period where these commodity or hard asset-backed tokens, if they're done right and regulated and compliant, they'll attract huge inflows over the next 12 months.
12 months. I like that number. Lisa.
I want to say that boring is underrated because, and so what I see, my hot take on tokenization is if you hear someone talking about tokenization that sounds really boring, pay attention because it could be the next big thing. If it sounds exciting and like revolutionary and wow, that I've never thought of that before, it's probably a flash in the pan. I worked at PayPal for 9 years, and every month I had this crisis of faith saying to myself, what am I doing? My whole career is around this product that allows one person to send money to another person. Like, how boring is that? And yet, in retrospect, I mean, I've had hundreds of people trying to consult with me about how PayPal's model worked because it was so profitable. It's so simple, so boring, and so profitable. And I think we're going to see tokenization and blockchain go towards the boring in the next 12 months or so. Gold, like Mark said, it's a lot of people, they see it as the boomer coin, right? It's boring. It's old people. But that's good. I think that's where we need to look. We need to look at where the boring use cases that make sense and seem so obvious that you don't even think it's interesting.
All right, talk about revolutionary then. Joey, you're up. So amazing. Nobody's using tokenized gold for games.
I'll come back to that a bit, but just to sort of answer your question, I'm going to take a somewhat, not necessarily a different tack, but I think you were mentioning something interesting about the current geopolitics and the current situation that we're in. And I'm going to tell you, we are very fearful, and we're very fearful. Actually, we were less fearful yesterday than we are today. Why do I say this? Is because once things sort of stabilize out, and we do think they will stabilize out in a year and a half, maybe faster. The impact that has on us is more as people are relaxed and relieved, and they feel investors feel giddy and so on again, and again money starts flowing into projects, and we know especially in the blockchain and crypto and Web3 world, we know that when the whales come back, there's going to be a lot of investment and a lot of things. Our hope and the reason why we're fearful, but our hope in these turbulent times right now is it really separates the wheat from the chaff, and we hopefully are the wheat. At least that's what investors that we're talking to say, and so on. So we're hopeful about that. So just in terms of dealing with the geopolitics, as things stabilize, my hope and fear is that when the markets return, when investment funds return stronger than they are now, much stronger, I hope, that the investors will be a bit more educated. And I'm not going to say cautious, because we do need investors who will take a walk on the wild side. That is absolutely necessary. in my humble opinion, it's just been too much on the wild side in the past few years, and we're seeing this in the gold space, we're seeing this in the crypto space. So my hope is that cooler heads will prevail and that we will actually become boring. And I think I said this on one of our chats before, that my favorite technologies are refrigerators and doorknobs, because you don't need to know how to use them, and we use them every day without giving them enough kudos. But I do agree with Lisa. We want to become boring. We don't want people to talk about rails or crypto terms and so on and so forth. We strive to be boring.
And I'll tell you, talking about being boring, I love when the technology is boring, but the people aren't, like yourself, Joey. And to close us out, I would love, Audrey, for you to kind of give us your take on all of this, where we stand, where we're going, and I mean, while we're having this conversation in the first place.
I like where Joey touched on fear yesterday, not so much today. Everybody waiting for the 8 p.m. Eastern clock, right, last night. And what was interesting is comments on the markets. Somebody said, oh, the markets aren't like crazy. And I'm like, isn't it funny? We've already baked in possibly bombing another nation into the market, into the markets. Sad to say. So what do I see? I see what everybody has touched on. I agree with Lisa. Boring is good. And for anybody watching this, these people that are on this spaces right now are doing everything the right way. They are compliant. They are doing it based on regulation, and they want to deliver something that is awesome and solid and useful to everyday people. And I think that is incredible. And these are people and projects to watch and watch closely.
And I love to hear it. So without further ado, I'm just going to let everybody know, please make sure you're following these speakers up here. We have this being streamed on a few different platforms, from your YouTubes of the world to X and everywhere in between. So make sure you check out what these guys are up to, because they're putting together some incredible products and making it available for people around the globe. Really, it's the access, right? To me, you guys are talking about hyperinflation. I lived through that. Like I did, I grew up in a third world country where I saw that happening time and time again, where you had stacks and stacks of money that were essentially worthless at some point. So seeing it firsthand, I'm telling you, where we're headed is so much nicer, so much brighter and exciting, to be a part of than what my childhood was. So take advantage of this time. This is an opportunity that doesn't come around often at all. You see some advancements, I guess you can say, that kind of take over the world by storm, and tokenization is absolutely one of them. But it is, like Joey said, on the boring side of things, and that is okay. That is actually exciting, and I can't wait to see where we go from here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate your insights. You guys have been phenomenal, and I see Joey's about to say something.
Nope, I'm just looking where to hit the exit button.
Wow, they're trying to get out of here quick, guys. No. Yeah, we're 5 minutes over.
Just on the interface, I was just looking around for it.
Special thanks to Goldie City for sponsoring this amazing event.
Thank you all so much. Thanks, appreciate Golden City for everything you guys put together. Take care, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Hey, what's up?
But it's not something Gen Z is afraid of.
If you want to survive, you got to build a hive.
No, we do not understand.
Ladies and gentlemen.
We're back at the Gen Z Media House.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us today.